Welcome to section 1 of this suite of videos aimed at people like you and me who volunteer our services for good causes. This first section focuses on the driver, as well as the vehicle we use and the journeys we make. So how can we reduce risk on journeys? The first task is to display a good defensive attitude that goes hand in hand with the skill we can demonstrate in the practical aspects of manoeuvring our vehicles. Take a moment to carry out some self-analysis and think about how you might answer these 4 questions. Is your driving attitude always defensive and based on safety? Will you admit that you sometimes make a mistake when driving? Have you learned from a recent near miss or error? What would you do next time that's different? By thinking about your answers, even for just a few short moments, you've taken an important step towards potentially reducing the risks you face as a driver. As a sensible starting point, you can do no better than follow the rules of the Highway Code. Many of these rules are legal requirements, so if you disobey them, you're committing an offence. If you haven't studied the Highway Code for a while, set aside some time and refresh your memory. If you know and apply the rules of the Highway Code, the risks you face and the risks you pose to other road users will be greatly reduced. Think about the following tips too when you're on a journey. First, always scan ahead, around and behind, so you're performing a constantly evolving risk assessment. Has there been a problem? Is there a side road with filtering traffic? Are you about to enter a built-up area? You need to ensure you know what's developing as far in advance as possible. This can help you adjust your planning at an early stage. Having checked your mirrors as well as scanning ahead, you can approach every hazard at the appropriate speed and in the correct gear. Nothing need come as a surprise. The speeds you use are your choice. No one can tell you to drive above the speed limit. The faster you go, the less time you will have of taking avoiding action, and the greater your risk of being involved in a collision. On a positive note, there are economy and environmental benefits from reducing speed. As an example, reducing your usual motorway speed from 75 to 65 not only makes you legal, but will bring a typical improvement in fuel economy of around 10%. Let's think about the vehicle we'll be using. If it's a vehicle we're familiar with, then we should make a habit of checking it every week. Are there any signs of leaks under the car? Are all the levels, such as oil and brake fluid, sufficient? Are all the lights working okay? Are the tyres the right pressure and with good tread? Finally, think about safe storage of luggage in the vehicle. Now, what about if we're not familiar with the vehicle? Perhaps it's a new car, a pool car, or vehicle that belongs to the organisation we're representing. It's really important to make a few straightforward checks before we turn the key and drive it away. Make sure the documents are in order. Are you insured to drive the vehicle? Don't be reticent about asking for proof, as it's your neck on the line if you get stopped. Is the excise duty paid? Is there a valid MOT certificate if the vehicle's more than 3 years old? Then find out a bit about the vehicle. Is it front-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive or four-wheel drive? Perhaps it's wider or longer than the vehicle you're used to. Is the vehicle automatic or manual? What fuel does it use? Before you go anywhere, make sure you know what all the switches do. Check the various warning lights and symbols, and if you don't know what they mean, read the manual to find out. And lastly, make sure you're comfortable. Adjust your seat so that you can sit comfortably with your spine against the back of the seat. If you can, move the rake of the wheel to allow your arms to be slightly bent. Then adjust the mirrors to give as full a view of the road as possible. Planning your journey will help reduce the risks you face on the road. It can also save a lot of time, especially if you're heading out on unfamiliar roads. And that's sure to be appreciated if you're carrying frail or nervous passengers. Even if you're responding to an urgent request for help, make sure you know exactly where you're going and what route you'll take to get there. And that concludes this first section of our video for volunteer drivers.